Yep,
Okay.
sounds like we are.
Sounds like we are. No question. No question.
No question. There we go. There we go.
All right.
Cool.
So last night in Soho. So do you want to just kind of talk like general impressions of it first? Like,
Yeah. I liked it, but it was weird. Like I loved the first 40 minutes,
yeah,
45 minutes. I was like, man, this is fantastic. Like 9 out of 10, 8.5, maybe even a 10 out of, not a 10 out of 10, but somewhere between 8.5, 9.5. And then like I don't know what they did that second half, but that second 45, 50 minutes, I was like, what is like it would just the men and the ghosts
right.
and that's I didn't care about that at all. I thought it wasn't scary or interesting. I was just like, okay. And then that boyfriend of hers, like, why in the world he decides to stay through her almost stabbing that other roommate and I'm just kind of like I'm like okay, and the weird sex thing where he broke, like after all that, like I don't get me wrong, like I can understand that he might be interested in her, but like
Right.
I don't think they created such a strong connection that he wouldn't be like, this girl's absolutely crazy. Like, I'm gonna get out of this situation. Like he was just like, oh, she's a wounded animal, and I'm gonna try to save her. So I don't know what was that
Right.
all about. And I then it did the weird thing with the end where like I felt mixed on the end because the end I felt like really did a good job where the one lady was actually her
The
and
mystery. Yeah, the mystery
yeah,
was good.
the mystery was solid. Like I liked that. I really liked that. Like how they were tying it into the end.
Yeah.
But then at the very end, she goes up and the men are like grabbing her, and I was just like, I'm like, if you want to help her get to the fucking phone, why are you stopping her from getting to the phone? I don't.
Right.
I'm like, all right. There seems like a weird. She was going right for it, like, and it also
Yeah.
kind of cracks me up because it was such a specific horror movie trope where it's like you need to be running out the front door and instead you're running up the stairs to the bedroom which has no way of escape, so
I
I don't
felt
know.
exactly the same way. I wrote down some of like the things I liked and didn't like, and the character of John, the boyfriend, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. And I felt bad because the actor is really good.
Yes.
But he was a plot device.
Yeah.
And especially in the library where like Eloise is like basically almost stabbing her rival, I'm like, that's when you bolt. And I thought
Yeah.
for sure like that would be the end of him. Like he was a temporary character, but then he literally just doesn't let her go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I felt the same way. The mystery was excellent. When we discovered that, like, what was her name? I'm trying to think. Miss was it Miss Collins? We
Yes.
discovered that she was like the main character from the 60s. I was like, that's great. I
Yeah.
totally didn't see it coming. I was locked in. After the mystery, though, it became like a total cliche horror movie. The burning house and running up the stairs and the poisoning. It was all stuff that I'd seen before. And even the happy ending, like where they had the fashion show or whatever, I was like, yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah, the happy ending also was strange to me because it was like the one girl that she almost stabbed was kind of like almost gave her an acknowledgement, like great job, like, and I'm like, come on, like, and
Yeah.
then the other friends were like so brave, so brave. I'm like that, like she almost fucking killed somebody, like, like
Yeah.
I don't know. There was some weird, very weird disconnects to me, which like I love the concept that she could see, go through dead people. Well, it wasn't even dead people, but go through. That was another thing. It seemed like she was going through spirits, right? But then,
Right.
like the spirit, she wasn't dead. The Collins was alive the
Right.
whole time. So I just thought about that as we're speaking. But like the other one, her mom, I guess, passed away, and then she was
But
able
what
to
did
see her.
what did the mom add to it? Like I didn't think the mom added anything. I was like, oh, kind of neat. She can see her dead mom.
Yeah,
But like the mom didn't really add much other than I guess to let us know that she can see dead people.
that was it. I felt that was
Yeah,
the entire plot device of yeah. There was a lot of little like loophole. There was a lot of holes in this
there
this.
was.
I don't know how it was on TV on mine, because of the OLED stuff, the blacks, like they did such a good job with making the cinematography, because like all that you could see was just pitch black, and then certain scenes, and just like the exact light of what you wanted to see and stuff. I thought that was pretty dang cool. I also thought it was kind of hilarious when she goes to bed and that horrific blinking blue red light,
Yeah.
which I'm supposed to be like danger and police lights or something. And she, kind of cracked me up when she's like trying to go to sleep in that room with the nonstop blinking blue and red light.
So my TV isn't as nice as yours, but this is a gorgeous movie. I actually looked it up because
Yeah.
I was interested. The cinematographer is the same one who did the movie Old Boy. So like
Oh,
really gorgeous visuals, and the director is the same guy that did, what was it? Did you ever see Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz?
yes, yes, I saw both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, same guy. So like directing cinematography wise, like this film was excellent. Like no issues at all with the visuals. Some of the stuff like with the dead guys in the library was over the top, but like
It
visually
was,
it was cool. I mean, I can't have no issues with special effects or anything.
yeah, the special effects were good special effects. They just were, I felt like I wasn't invested. I was just kind of like, okay, she's like, I wasn't scared for her at all. I was
Right.
just kind of like, okay, she's doing a whole bunch of stuff and she's freaking out. And I'm just like, okay, I don't, yeah, that was where it really lost me. Like the first 45 minutes of building up that, and I loved her like narcissistic roommate. I loved her narcissistic roommate. Like that
Right.
was such a, like, I almost wish there was more of that. You
There were
know,
loose ends.
yeah, there was like the loosen, and then like her drink, and it was like, was there acid in her drink? Was there not acid in her drink? I don't know.
So I
Like
thought, here's kind of where I thought, and I don't know if there's anything to it or not. I thought that Eloise the entire time was going to get schizophrenia, and I was glad that they did not do that. But if you looked at like the mom committing suicide and like how her grandmother seems to think that she's so fragile and how she's dancing in the beginning, I was like, all right, maybe she really is like mentally unbalanced. I was glad that there was more to it than that, but like I wouldn't overrule the idea that like she is sort of crazy a little bit at least.
oh yeah, she definitely seems like she's schizophrenic, but I
Yeah.
guess schizophrenic in a way of seeing real life events. So maybe it's just not schizophrenia. Maybe it's, I don't know, a very horrifying gift, I guess.
Right.
And I mean, then there was also the weird thing where, where she got the hickey at the, so like her
Right.
visions are so powerful that they are actually like happening to her, which is kind of horrific, because then she's like, being, you know, basically, sold every night to multiple men, which is, but there's no more marks on her body. Like that's another thing.
Right.
Like there's just the one hickey mark, which was, I don't know. I thought they could have maybe made that more, done something a little bit more. Um,
Yeah. This was like a loss of innocence story. Like you had in the 60s you had fashion, and in the modern day, or oh, sorry, music, right? And then in the modern day it was fashion, and both of those are very like exploitive. Um, so I kind of got what they were going for there, but there were some inconsistencies with it. Like, yeah, she got the hickey the one time. In the modern day, other than her boyfriend John, who I guess is the good guy, she wasn't really exploited with fashion. So I kind of understood what they were going for there, but it was hard to make the connection.
yeah, she was definitely not exploited fashion wise. The one thing that I thought was very strange, and I feel like there's definitely something there, but I didn't get it, was at the very end, the models that were wearing her clothes looked like they looked horrendously ugly, and they looked like the men's weird faces. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about? They looked purposefully, in my opinion, like the amorphous face men that were
Yeah.
you know, doing that stuff. So
That's the only thing I can think of. Like it goes back to like exploitation. Like maybe instead of like men exploiting her, like the fashion industry is going to ruin her innocence. Like I don't know. It was a weak connection, but there was definitely something there.
Yeah, I could see it. I just didn't understand it. I didn't grasp the way they were trying to do it. Like,
You know what else I really didn't like about the last like minute of the film? So like she looks into the mirror and it's the girl, right? The
yes,
Taylor Anna Reed, is that her name?
Anna Taylor,
Anna Taylor Joy.
yeah, Anna Taylor,
It's
yeah.
her character in the mirror. But like after Miss Collins poisons her, like it was really hard for me to sympathize with that character. And I understand that like she became bad because of like how she was abused and everything, but at the same time, like after she tried to poison Eloise, I was just kind of like, okay, like I'm sorry that happened to you, but you're crazy. And it was hard to feel the sympathy I think I was supposed to feel for the character.
Yeah, well, of course. How could you? You know, not
Yeah.
you know, not you know. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, you can almost empathize maybe with her killing all the men, but not so much. But you definitely can't empathize with her killing her roommate, I guess, because I mean, and especially it's not like the police are gonna
Right.
believe believe the schizophrenic crazy lady that almost stabbed her roommate, like
Yeah.
yeah, that was a little which she even said as she's poisoning her, like, oh, like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of weirdness. There was a lot of, but I absolutely loved the beginning. I love when she leaves and the grandma's like, like doing a lot of foreshadowing. It's going to be too much.
There was a ton
Uh,
of foreshadowing. Like I read about it afterwards because I was like, all right, I want to learn a little bit more about it. Like when she's in the library and she's going through the articles trying to find out about the murder of the woman who lived in her room, like she comes across all these missing men articles. So I kind of thought that was cool.
yes,
Like I didn't notice that when I was watching it, but I was like, all right, I like that.
yeah, I didn't notice that either, but looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like she became like the ultimate terrible person,
She did.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also love that, the one boy that's like the angel boy over there comes and she's, I'll call the cops. She's like, I'll kill him. Don't worry. I'll kill him too.
He was such a plot device. I mean, I would go so far as to say that if John, the boyfriend, was more realistic, like that would have saved the ending a lot for me. But what the movie needed was a scene of the two of them having a good time with her not going crazy. And there
Yes.
wasn't one. Like he invites her to the dance and she freaks out. They go for a walk and she freaks out. She tries to stab her ex roommate and he's okay with it and sympathetic towards her. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
why is this guy here?
Yeah. Yeah. That's, yeah, you're very right. Like he needs, without a doubt, there is no connection where she doesn't go nuts, where I could believe this man would stay unless this man has exceptional mental issues, which he probably does. But I mean, like, let's be real. There were so many times where it was like, okay, this isn't going to work out. You seem like a nice lady, but you're too crazy for me. Like,
Right.
but yeah, he just kept on keeping on, And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me look through these articles of dead people in the 60s because you said you were losing your mind. And I
Why was
don't
she
know.
so obsessed with the 60s anyway? Like, I was thinking about that. I was like, this is really unusual for a girl her age. I guess she would have been like 19 or 20 to be so into the 60s. And I think the 60s are supposed to symbolize like a better time. But like they weren't, like a lot of effed up stuff happened in the 60s. So I don't know. The 60s was such an interesting draw for this movie. Like it was very atmospheric and focused on that decade.
Yeah, I don't know if she was super into it until she had that. I think she might have enjoyed some of the music, maybe, I think.
Yes.
But I don't think she was like super into, well, she had the Hepburn thing in the beginning, and
Right.
that was the 60s, right? I think. So yeah, you're right. She was really into the 60s before. And then when she got into Anna Taylor Joy's character, then she was obsessed with the 60s, you know, and stuff.
There's
So
like a link there. It's like, so Anna Taylor-Joy's character wanted to sing in the 60s, and in the present day, Eloise is like into 60s music and fashion. So like I guess
uh,
trying to show that like they have something in common, like loss of innocence in this case. Like I think it was just trying to link them.
yeah, it definitely was there was definitely a loss of innocence story on both, you know, both parts, Anna Taylor-Joy's and the
Yeah.
uh yeah. Although I feel more of a loss of innocence in Anna Taylor-Joy as much as not so, you know, the main protagonist lady, like not what was her loss of innocence? I don't know. Like
So
is yeah.
like was it in the dorm room when like there was a party and she didn't want to she didn't want to drink alcohol and hang out with them? Like I don't know. I mean, it wasn't very strong. I kind of got the impression that she was like mentally ill and her
Yeah.
grandmother was letting her go to London, even though her grandmother maybe should not have, or maybe should have kept her close to home. Like, I feel like she had a weird history that wasn't fully explained.
Yeah. And I mean, well, she is mentally ill in comparison to a human, to a normal human, but
Yeah.
her mental illness is apparently factual somehow and can actually see the spiritual realm. So it's like, is it a mental illness? Like, I don't know, you
Yeah.
know, but yeah, you know, that is kind of funny where it's like, well, you know, normally people that have schizophrenia that I have, you know, seen or talked with and stuff, they don't truly have a true connection where they'll get a
Right.
hickey going into
Right.
the spirit realm that I know of, at least, you know.
Their
So
facts are not real.
yeah, so yeah, the facts are exactly. Whereas these are real, these facts were real, which is really,
Right.
I don't even know what to call that, you know, it's very strange. But I mean, it was entertaining. I was entertained. I was surprised at how there was such a big dichotomy to me of the first 45 minutes, like maybe an 8.5, maybe even a 9,
Right.
to then go to that next 45 minutes where I was like, okay, this is like a 5, like, or maybe even a 4. Like the midway,
After the
yeah,
mystery
midway.
was revealed, it just that was like the peak of the movie to me, and everything after that felt like a cliche.
So to you, the last 20 minutes after that mystery, that's where, see, to me, once they got to the mystery and they explained it, which to me was like the last 20 minutes. So there's 45, 45, 20 approx.
Hmm.
And that the middle 45, where she's just running from the ghost constantly and seeing Anna with blood all over her
Yeah.
randomly and all that stuff, like all those like jump scares or whatever.
Right.
I didn't care. I did not have any empathy. I didn't care. I was like, she's not going to die here. I'm not scared about any of these things. The
Right.
graphics are like, I guess, okay done, but I think they're kind of silly and stupid looking. You know, and the whole time I'm just like, why is everybody like caring? Like, why is everybody reacting the way they are to this girl? She's obviously exceptionally mentally ill, and
Right.
everybody is like, I don't know, just being like, oh, it's okay, you know, get back up. I don't know. Everybody was giving her a lot of leeway, I felt.
Yeah, this is the problem that I oftentimes have with like psychological thrillers and psychological horror. Like the setup is always so good, right? When you're sucked in and you're like, "Oh man, this is great." But then like at some point they have to actually do something with it. And they can either go to like the really bizarre place, which this movie did not go to, or it can kind of become more a traditional horror movie, which is the route that this movie took. And unfortunately, the traditional horror movie in the last 40 minutes didn't quite gel with the first half of the movie to me.
Yeah, yeah. Then to me, the last 20 to me was when they started revealing what was happening and
Right.
stuff, and how the one weird guy was actually like the good cop and everything when he gets hit by the car. I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And then even though he was super weird and creepy the whole time, which was also kind of strange because in the thing he was kind of trying to be like a savior, but you don't
Yeah.
find that out until after he dies, of course. And then but and then when you know, he talks when she talks with her old roommate that turns out to be Anna Taylor, like I was like, that's really cool. I liked that a lot.
Yes.
Right after that, even when she goes and poisons her and was like, I'm okay with it. It was very stereotypical. I was okay with that though, but I liked the reveal. I wondered if she was at one point, but then I was like, no, Anna's dead because she saw that, you know, thing. And so I was like, that definitely is not her. But no, it was her. And like, yeah, so I thought it was good. But the last 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes to me, I give like a 7.5. I get the vibe you give it like a 2. But that 45 minutes in between, I was just, I don't know. I was laughing. Like I came out at one point, I stopped after 25 minutes. I stopped, I went out, got some food, was laughing. Kelly was
Right.
like, what's so funny? I'm like, oh, this last night at Soho, it's cracking me up over here. Like, I don't, what's
Yeah.
going on with this?
I had so I guess ultimately, like, what would you grade it? So I had high hopes for this movie, because I knew of the director and it looked really cool, and I knew the actors and actresses were going to be really good. Stephen King called this movie. He said it was special, so I was like, oh man, if Stephen King likes this movie, it's got to be good. And I liked it. I just didn't love it, but and it's one of these frustrating movies where, like, if things just went a little bit differently, it could have been a great movie, but it was just a
Yeah.
good movie instead.
Yeah. It's hard because I can't rate it higher than a 7. Um, but I can't rate it lower than like a 6 for sure. Like I'm on somewhere between 6.5 and 7 on it. Um, yeah, if that second 45 minutes was just, I don't know, they did more with that, or
Right.
I really do feel if they made that a little bit better, like I could easily be rating this like an 8, 8.5. But I just felt they dropped the ball
Yeah.
so much on they could have still said, hey, she, became, kind of like an escort and still did that, but not have all the constant weird, creepy men. I don't know, like, yeah, I don't know. I think they overdid, and I really wish they did more with that roommate, because that roommate to me was such a such a small character, but such a good character as
They
like
should
a
have done
villain.
more with the roommate, and the men, they didn't make any sense. Like they
Yes.
were jump scares. And why, if they wanted her help and if they were on her side, like you said, like, why are they grabbing her in an alley? Why are they preventing her from calling 911 on the phone at the end? Like, I guess they were just crazy ghosts, but yeah, they didn't work for me that well. Visually they were cool to look at, but they weren't that scary.
Yeah, that was yeah. These are the multiple things where like especially after talking to you, especially with Anna Taylor, this character where she's like, okay, I get that she can see ghosts, but Anna Taylor isn't dead. She's still alive.
Right.
So like that to me, once I talking to you and putting that together, I'm like, wait a second here, like that just doesn't that's you're jumping the shark over here. Like that doesn't,
Didn't compute.
that doesn't compute. Yeah, it's like, okay, so you can live in past times now. Like, why? I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. Will
I felt
mentioned this,
the
but it's
acting and the directing was excellent. I mean, I didn't like, the cinematography was good. This was a gorgeous movie, but
yes.
the story just had flaws, I guess. Like, I
I,
wouldn't fault the director, I wouldn't fault the actor. I would just say, like, yeah, the last half of the script just needed to be worked out a little bit more.
I love the acting of the not Anna Taylor. Anna Taylor was good too, but I love
Yeah.
the actor of the main protagonist, especially the very beginning scene where she's dancing, all in her own home and everything like that, and
Let me
like it
see, look
just
up her name. Her name is Thomasin McKenzie.
yes,
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, the acting was excellent in this one.
yes, I agree. I thought she did a fantastic job acting the entire time. Like actually, I believed her to be this eccentric, shy girl that still, acted the way she does when she's kind of by herself,
Yeah.
and I believe that entire character. The other guy, I thought his acting was good initially, like especially when he's getting the one drink when he
Right.
first meets her, and he like puts up his glass and she puts up her glass, and he's just kind of like, all right, like just the eye movements, like nothing was said, but it was the body language and everything. I was like, I felt that was really really good. and then they got sort of together, and then I just felt that was, um, I don't know, his character just was so unbelievable to me that I just was like, all right, come on, man, like
Yeah.
you know,
He was the biggest problem in the movie to me for sure.
yeah. So, so what about you? What are you rating it?
Okay, so I was really torn on this one, but I went on IMDb and it's averaging like a 7 out of 10 and I'm like, "You know what? That's about right."
Yeah,
I liked the movie. To me a 7 is like I don't feel like I wasted my time watching it. I'm glad I watched it, but it
yes.
wasn't life-changing and it had certain flaws that kept it from being great. So 7 out of 10 feels about right for this one. I can't give it any higher than that. And I feel like the movie's too well done to grade it lower than that. Like I
Yeah,
just felt like it was fun. It was too much fun to score it anything lower than so 7 feels about right.
yeah, I could see that. 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
One other thing with the audio, because now that I have it hooked up to this thing, I had to make the audio very loud to hear the voices. But once I had it like on the right thing, I noticed how big there would be differences in volume changes to symbolize different areas. So like when she's in the 60s, it's way louder than
Really?
when
I didn't
she's
even
in,
notice that. That's
yeah,
cool.
it's one of these things I would have never noticed if I didn't have it like hooked up to this thing now. And then I was just like, I was like, oh wow, like, and this was very purposeful, but like
I'm sure.
I didn't, you know, I'm kind of interested to see how other movies are now with audio stuff, because like this is stuff I never really take into account. But now that I'm having it on this thing, I'm like, oh, okay, like this was a very much a artistic choice here, that they were almost making it like the 60s was like more real than the actual real world or whatever, like because it was more muted, the sounds and
Right.
everything when she and thing, unless there was a crazy jump scare, which would, you know, of course, you know, but that still
Yeah.
makes sense because those were the 60s, so let's raise the volume during those points, you know, I
Sure.
guess, you know, during
Yeah.
that jump scare.
Details
So
like that, like that's what I mean. Like this was like clearly they worked really hard on this and I like when movies are ambitious. Like even if they strike out on certain ambitions, like the fact that they tried it and did something a little different is laudable to me. So I still really liked it. The last 20-30 minutes though could have been more interesting, but it wrapped everything up. It wasn't a bad ending. It wrapped everything up. It just wasn't like next level.
yeah, it's funny to me because for me on that, the last 20 minutes, I loved how they wrapped it up. And I loved how they, I didn't love them go. I thought I was laughing when she's going literally upstairs with the burning house. And I'm just like, okay, like, of course you have to because she's chasing you up the stairs.
Right.
I did love when she goes into the room and the poison tea and she's starting to realize, wait a second, this is Anna Taylor, and you know, and her motivation behind it, and it worked, and you know, I'm burying, you know, burying the bodies in the house, so you know, with her psychic abilities or whatever, of course she picks up on that more, and I kind of liked that. Like I wasn't, you know, at the very last 5-10 minutes going up the thing, I did think was cheesy, you know, and then her being like,
Right.
all of a sudden being like, oh no, save the boy now. Now I care about the boy. You know, I'm not gonna go to jail. You know, like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
It was a decent inning. Like I don't mean to crap on the inning. Like it was decent. It just wasn't as next level as the movie could have done. But I guess you could say that for just about any movie.
that's probably accurate. That's probably accurate. I was wondering for next movie. I was kind of. Have you seen Bullet Train? I know it might sound silly, but I've been kind of wanting to see it.
I don't
It's on
think I
Netflix.
have. Is that the Japanese one?
I don't know if it's Japanese. I know very little about it. I know it has. I know it's an action movie. Brad Pitt. It sounds like an action comedy.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay, no, I definitely have not seen it then.
I've not seen it. I know very little of what it's about, which is kind of what I like. I don't think it's going to be a super suspense. I don't know what it's going to be. I think it's supposed to be like an action comedy type thing. I don't know too much about it other than that. But if you want that to be the next one, I'd be down for that to be the next one to do.
Thumbs
It
up
might
for
be
sure.
terrible. I have no idea, but it's on. You have Netflix, right?
I do have Netflix. Yes.
Cool, cool. So how'd you like doing this? Was this good? Do you think this was a,
This was
or is there
fun.
anything?
So I'm gonna go ahead and stop the record now.
Sure, sure.